What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the TenSevenMMA MMA Show. Hope everybody's doing well. And it is myself, Huzaifa. And I know I saw Celine in the comments, so she was hoping that she was what's up, Western Mass Climber? Hoping Celine was gonna make it. I know it's quite late in France where she's at, but maybe she did. If you're on, what's up? Welcome back. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week, a lot of exciting things. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see, but I did an impromptu video yesterday on the entire Ryan Garcia situation. Check it out if you haven't checked it out yet, but we're going to talk a little bit more about it today because we got more results from the testing. But anyways, Justin, why don't we turn over to you first? Where are you at? What's going on?
Back to Billings, Montana, man. Fusion Fight League. Got a commentary gig over on Thriller TV or Fight TV, whichever you want to call it. It's the same thing. Like I said, enjoying this beautiful weather. It's not cold, you know. Got the girls walking out with their t-shirts on. I got my shorts on, so it's a nice weather here, man. So I'm excited to be here.
Right on. All right. Well, great weather here in LA as well. Okay, so let's get down to business. There's a lot of things that have been going on. So as I mentioned, I sent you that video yesterday. I did a video on Ryan Garcia. So we're going to start there because this story has been completely insane. Even though me and Justin aren't really big boxing fans, it's been a pretty wild story. It's been a storybook story, really, seeing Ryan Garcia pull off this entire act, talk all this crazy stuff. The Vegas odds were crazy against him. Pulled out the victory. Bet $2 million on himself, a move that Justin did not too long ago, right? You bet 20,000. No, you bet 50,000 on yourself, right?
No, well, 20,000. 20,000 is my show money.
Yeah, your show money on your own fight. I mean, I don't think anybody else has really done that I'm aware of. And now Ryan Garcia did it, but with $2 million, and he won a crazy amount of money, $12 million. So just so many things that happened that were just completely wild. And now it comes out after the fact, just to recap people, that he tested dirty for steroids. So many people jumped on the bandwagon, were giving him a lot of hate. He tested for 2 substances. Now, Justin, just to give you a heads up, obviously, and people, if you haven't seen the video, here's what has happened. He has since been cleared from the B sample, okay, for one of the substances, which was the byproduct, essentially. I always get the name wrong when I say it, but it's basically a downstream product of DECA. And according to Derek from More Plates, More Dates, DECA is a substance that is like so easy to detect that it's ridiculous. If anybody had any brains or any good team around them, you wouldn't be juicing with DECA. It's just too easy to detect, okay? So that was already a little suspicious. Then the B sample gets cleared. So Justin, I haven't heard your thoughts on this, but here's the thing. I don't know if you've ever heard of a contradiction between the A sample and the B sample, but I looked it up and they said that only occurs approximately 1 out of 5,000 times that you have a contradictory result from the B sample to an A sample. So that's such a small percentage chance. What are the chances that it's happened in this super high profile fight? So like just on this fact alone, like, what are your thoughts? People know my thoughts. I'm saying it almost sounds like he was framed, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, when you go talk about odds of 1 in 5,000, man, I mean, it just sounds like he's being sabotaged, man. And, you know, I don't know. It's really, when you have all these circumstances, you know, fighting at such a high profile, and then all the gimmicks before the fight, the gimmicks during the fight, missing weight, him betting on himself, which is illegal now. Man, it's really hard for me to form an opinion because I don't really know Ryan Garcia. Obviously, I don't know him personally. I can't tell you about his character, if he's a cheater, if he's not a cheater. You know, this is one of the times that you're going to stump me here, man. And I wish I could give you more insight on it, but I just don't know. There's just so many things, like 1 out of 1,000. It just happens to happen on the fight that he misses weight and he pretends like he's drinking at the weigh-ins, or all this crazy stuff, because this is stuff he's never done before, and he's never tested positive before either. But the one time he does, he bets on himself, he misses weight. I don't know, man. There's so many unanswered questions that it's really hard for me to form an opinion on this subject.
No worries. And by the way, Western Mass Climber did mention he's hearing an echo. So I'm just going to mute you and then we'll unmute you. Just unmute yourself when you're ready to go. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah. Look, there is a lot of unknowns and I'm just looking at it from the math perspective. For those of you guys who don't know, math is kind of my thing. That's what I work with students on. It's what I teach. And you know, just from looking at from the statistical standpoint, it just seems too crazy that you're going to have a contradiction with the B sample and the A sample. That means, I mean, like, how does the A sample have this compound in and the B sample doesn't? Like, it can't be a coincidence. Nandrolone, like, well, it just can't be a coincidence, in my opinion. So, to me, I feel like this does scream a bit of something weird is going on. Now they're retesting. So I want to share with you guys kind of this really cool article that I found, and we're just going to screen share it a little bit, and then I'm going to turn it back over to you, Justin. But so if we check this out, right, we now say Dan Rafael, who's doing the testing, he does mention this, hey, no amount of ostarine, meaning there's not even an allowable threshold of ostarine that's allowed. So no amount is allowable. So if there's anything there, it's a problem, period, whatever. There's also this other statement here that says, hey, people are saying he has 60 times whatever the limit, but I think that's fake news. So that's what he's claiming, like that there's no allowable limit. There's no 0.1, nanogram, whatever it is. It's just nonsense. So now we're getting to that second test, which I believe it listed in this article. That's going to happen on May 22nd. So we're going to get the B samples reviewed and revealed. And I guess we're going to hopefully get to the truth of whatever is going on. So that's the kind of situation. But just talking from the standpoint of, all the money that's on the line, all these things. I mean, and again, talking about boxing, not mixed martial arts, but boxing being notoriously, and again, I don't know much about boxing. I'm not a boxing fan, but I do know that people routinely say, hey, this is one of the dirtiest sports that's ever existed, if not the dirtiest. What's your gut telling you, Justin? Do you feel like this is going to be, come out to be, again, a negative, discrepancy? And then what are the odds of that? Then that's, by the way, that's joint probability. It's 1 out of 5,000 times 1 out of 5,000. That's 1 out of 25 million. Okay. Take it away. What are your thoughts?
I love how you came up with it on the fly there. And just so you guys that don't know, Josefa's being very modest right now. He's one of the best math tutors in the country, if not the world. Scholar Learning. Let's give a shout out to Scholar Learning here. But dude, man, it's, dude, it's hard, man. It's just, I'm kind of just waiting for everything to unfold to see, because I'd like to think he wouldn't, especially like Deca, like you're saying, like it's one of the most easiest steroids you can get tested for and pop positive for. So, and he's fighting at such a high level. He's I don't know what his record is, but I know he's had a bunch of fights. He gets tested every fight, and for him to test dirty on one sample and not the other, and never a fight before, man, there's just, man, I'd like to think that it's fake. I'd like to think somebody's setting him up.
Yeah, and I would agree. And I really like Ryan Garcia, and he just seems like he's telling the truth when he talks. Maybe it's a biased opinion because I do like the guy and I like his fight style, and he's super entertaining. But he's 25-1, by the way. I just checked his record. So the one loss he had is, I think, to Tank Davis, if I remember correctly. I don't know these boxer guys' names. Like I said, Ryan Garcia is the man, very entertaining. He's now talking about wanting to fight Sean O'Malley and Conor McGregor. So, hey, I think this is kind of working out for him. I think the PED thing, as terrible as it is, as tarnishing as it may be, I think it might be working out, especially because he's claiming 100% that he is innocent. So let's see what happens with that. All right, let's move it along to the next topic. Jon Jones has been in the media recently. A lot of people are trying to get him to fight Tom Aspinall. He's also talking about Alex Pereira. So a lot of things going on. I know people aren't crazy about the Stipe fight. Stipe's been out for a while. I still want to see the Stipe fight. I might be one of the only fans, and people might call me a casual for saying that, but I still want to see the Stipe fight because it is two legends. I do think there is something interesting. It's not like Stipe is 50. Okay. He had a fight not too long ago. He beat DC not too long ago. I mean, he's still in there, and I think it's a great fight. I think it's interesting. But now we've come out with news that this appears to be, it was going to happen this summer, and now it looks like they're targeting November for this fight. So, Justin, what do you think about this potential matchup between Jon Jones and Stipe happening in November?
Well, when you talk about he just beat Daniel Cormier, that was like 5 years ago, man. That's a long time ago, dude. Was that pre-COVID even?
Oh, actually, wait, that was a while ago and then he lost to your training partner,
Francis.
Yeah, he beat DC in 2020. Oh, geez, that was 4 years ago, and they lost to Francis in 3 years ago.
Yeah, man. I don't like the matchup. I know you do. It's very nostalgic. It's like you got two old fighters. But Jon Jones is doing it smart. It's the easier matchup of the two. Tom Aspinall, obviously, being the much tougher matchup. And John's getting old, man. He's been around, and I do think he deserves the Stipe matchup. He deserves to go out there and put on a great performance, which he will against Stipe, and I expect him to win that fight. I really don't expect him to do much. I don't really expect Stipe to put up much of a fight against Jon Jones.
Yeah, to me, I think that, you know, look, it may not be top competition if people want to say that. It might be too. I don't know, but I think that the value of the match to me is it does have the nostalgia. It does have, you know, Stipe is considered to be the greatest heavyweight of all time. Dana White said that many times. So from that perspective, I think it's awesome. I think the only reason why it's getting this much hate is because Tom Aspinall is the interim champ and everybody feels like he's being ducked. And, you know, MMA fans that in large part don't like that. I don't mind it. Once again, I think Jon Jones has earned this fight. I think he wants this fight. Dana White wants this fight. I think it's fine. So anyways, I guess we're going to see what happens. People are really giving him a hard time though. They, especially not your favorite, but MMA Guru is really going hard on Jon Jones. So I guess we shall see, but that's the tentative announcement. I think it was Stipe that said this fight looks to be happening in November. So we're going to see what happens there. Okay. Now I'm going to turn it over to another topic that we talked about that you kind of went off on, what was that, on Monday. So we're going to talk about this Colby Covington, Ian Garry fight. And here's the thing. So he went on the show and basically denies, I'm going to play the clip in a second. He basically denies that the fight was ever offered, basically saying Ian Garry is lying. Jesse on Fire did a video on this and he's saying he believes Colby. I completely disagree. I don't think Ian Garry is lying. I think Colby is lying because Colby seems to be the one that, you know, while he's in this character, he doesn't mind lying. Like it's part of the character. You know, I think he does it all the time. So anyways, I'm going to play you this clip and then I want to get your thoughts, but here's where we're at. And he does mention at one point in this podcast saying he'd be open to fighting Bilal Muhammad, which was kind of interesting. Here we go.
Everybody hates me, but people can say whatever they want. They're talking about one of the best fighters of all time. One, do you feel like you are one of the best fighters of all time? And you know how the group feels, but I just want your opinion. And then also, piggybacking off DT, does that hate propel you? Like moving when you say those things and the people hate on you, all that, does that propel you, you know, to want to be better, to prove them wrong, or more so just prove yourself right?
Yeah, no, it definitely propels me. It makes me wake up early in the mornings and I want to prove the doubters and the critics wrong. You know, when I hear things that people say about me, if you know, they're high profile people, I put those things on my wall and I'm like, okay, I'm going to show you wrong. I'm going to show you that that's not right. And
Yeah.
I'm going to show you who I really am. So it definitely gets me up and gets that extra set out of me in training to want to push harder and prove them wrong.
I got to ask, you cut the best promos, whether it's you sitting on your boat in Miami, yeah, you giving some bikinis.
All right, hold on. I'm going to fast forward it just a little bit until the part where he talks about Ian Garry. It's in this section here. Check it out. 1 second, right here. Here we go.
I just come with facts and I just say things that are out there that people already know about.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Ian Garry, I know you've probably seen this shit. Speaking of promos, that was classic. So he's claiming allegedly that he's accepted the fight with you.
We all know that he's a cuck, but now we know he's a liar because UFC, Hunter, Dana, they haven't talked to me about this fight. This fight has not been presented. You know, he's just lying. He's just trying to get clickbait and get people to talk about him. Like, I don't know who I'm fighting. I gave him stipulations. You know, I said, hey, if you want to fight me and you're serious about business, just show me you're serious. Because when I show up, I want to make money and I'm trying to do good business. Yeah. We already saw at our last press conference. He didn't even show up because he knew I was going to have a live mic. So he's already scared to show up to a press conference where he's not fighting me. What's going to happen when he's at a press conference and he has to fight me? He's probably not going to show up. So I gave him stipulations. If you want to fight me and you want to show you're serious about business, turn on your comments. Could you imagine, Max, turning off your comments, like, and not letting the NFL fans like say what they think about you?
Yeah.
Come on, dude. That's some little girl shit. Like,
it is.
That's
not wrong.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
So he's got that stipulation. I mean, let's put it back on you, Max. Like, let's be honest. Yeah. Let's be honest. Like, that's what I love about the UFC and Dana is that they give us like free range to kind of do what we want. But imagine, like, on football Sundays, if you could tell some of your rival quarterbacks, like, yo, these are the stipulations you got to do. It's going to make you play harder. Yeah. Like, imagine if you could be like, Josh Allen, stipulation 1, if I sack you, your girl's got to play in one of my commercials or whatever, your the Rush podcast, you know, for the week.
Okay, so he goes on and on. He's basically like, these guys are laughing it up. He's busting Ian Garry's balls. Going back to these stipulations, he's just basically claiming it's not something that he wants. He goes on to say, look, Ian Garry's below me in the rankings. It doesn't do anything for me, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I don't know. To me, when I look at Colby's face and he's saying this, I think he's lying. Like he's just lying, and but he's doing it like knowing that we know, if you get what I mean. That's my feeling. Maybe this is a negotiation tactic to get more money if he wants to do the fight. But anyways, yeah, this is the first clip I want to play. What is your reaction to what Colby's saying?
You know, he's contradicting himself. He's like, oh, well, the fight was never offered, but I would fight him, but I gave him the stipulations to fight. It just sounds like a contradicting statement. And then, you know, for they say that he's one of the greatest welterweights of all time, I don't even think he's in the top 10. He's back to that one-dimensional old school wrestler. And if you're talking about Colby said that he'd fight Bilal, well, yeah, it's a better matchup. You know, Bilal's more of a grappler wrestler too, so he'd be able to go. And with that being said, he can take the fight to decision. You know, Ian Garry is going to knock him out. Ian Garry's going to finish the fight. Ian Garry's going to put him in the spot to where you can't make an excuse unless he's like, oh, it's a bad stoppage. But I think Ian Garry's going to start him. Bilal and him is going to be a Bilal fight. It's going to be boring as fuck. They're going to lay on each other. They're going to press each other up into the fence. It's going to go to decision. Colby's going to throw a fit. Oh, bad decision. I won that fight. And then Bilal's going to say, oh, I beat Colby. Where's my title fight? And it's like, it's just two boring fighters. Of course he wants to take the boring matchup. And I do think Bilal will beat Colby. But again, it's going to be by decision. And just because it's the grappling base. And he's just going to argue that he won the fight anyway. So I've just lost so much respect for Colby. I've lost respect for him as a fighter. I've lost respect for his character. You know, talking shit and getting outlandish is fine, but you got to back it up, and he doesn't back it up anymore.
Yeah, I'm with you. What's kind of interesting is that he does want to fight Wonderboy, right? He's calling Wonderboy out. So, like, you know, that's a big striker. Let me ask you a question. Do you think Wonderboy has a much diminished chance of getting a knockout versus Ian Garry? Like, why is he calling that fight? Do you think there's that much of a skill gap or a danger factor between Ian Garry and Wonderboy?
Obviously Wonderboy can knock him out, but Wonderboy's a counterpuncher as well, and I think his wrestling is lack compared to Ian Garry. I think Ian Garry will have much better grappling and much better wrestling. He'll be able to defend his shots. He'll be able to get off the cage and he'll land the shots. Now, again, if Stephen Thompson and Colby Covington stand for 25 minutes, obviously I think he is probably going to get knocked out as well. But with that being said, I mean, again, you're talking about two guys with a similar skill set or with similar style. But one is just younger, he's hungrier, and he's up and coming. Wonderboy's already been there and done it all, man. He's old. You know, he only has a couple fights left. Full Colby's calling for that fight because that's the easier the fight of the two.
Okay, so I'm gonna give my pitch to Colby to take this Ian Garry fight. So later in this interview, which I didn't play for you, but later in the interview, they talked to him about, hey, what's your dream matchup? Who do you really want to fight? Who do you respect? Whatnot. The person that he calls out is who you can predict. Conor McGregor. Nobody's impacted the sport more. Nobody's done more. He's a double champ, blah, blah, blah. You know, kind of like kissing up to him. I feel like he's always wanted to fight with Conor. So here's my pitch, because we both want to see him fight Ian Garry. Everybody wants to see him fight Ian Garry because it would be incredible. And it would be great for Ian Garry. Find Colby's favorite to lose. But I'll put it this way, as if I'm pitching to Colby. If you get this opportunity and you do get to go against Ian Garry, him and Conor are boys. You're going to be in that conference. You're going to have all the time you want to sling shots, sling mud, sling arrows, whatever, in both of their directions, because you know they're both going to come at you. This can be perfect. If you win, you have a great shot at calling out Conor, but there's also a possibility that you lose and Conor loses. Michael Chandler could win, right? So in that possibility, you have another option. Maybe you can still use whatever momentum you get or whatever drama you stir up against Conor to maybe take that fight. My point is I think that whatever, it's a bit self-serving, but I want to see you match up against Ian Garry. Give him a shot to talk some smack back to you. Is going to be the greatest press conference of all time. Plus Conor's there. I mean, this will be incredible. Colby, maybe some people have turned on you. Maybe we're even getting a little tired of your antics, but we want to see you fight. We want to see you come back, and this would be so exciting. So let's hope that you take this sales pitch. All right. Anyways, moving on. I want to talk about UFC 301. One of the fights that we didn't get the chance to talk about on Monday, but UFC 301, for those of you guys who missed it and didn't get a chance to check it out, man, it was a great card. It was a real sleeper of a card in a lot of ways. I think people weren't too amped about it tuning in. Nobody really knew too much about Steven Erceg. I wish I would have done more research because I really like the guy now, and that was a great fight. Him against Pantoja. But anyways, the entire main card was insane. Like, it was such good finishes and such good fights. Anthony Smith, we did talk about that. But somebody that we didn't talk about was Michel Pereira. So Michel Pereira or Pereira, I might be pronouncing that wrong, and I apologize if I am. But this is a really interesting fight. So if you guys remember, not too long ago, He was scheduled to fight Wonder Boy, and he missed weight, right? So that was a big deal. I'm looking up the dates right now just so we can take a look at his record. I mean, this is wild. So here, check this out. I'm going to pop it over here in a second. So he was supposed to fight. Oh, I don't think it's going to be listed on here, but he was supposed to fight Wonder Boy. And obviously he was fighting in welterweight. Hold on. I'm just trying to find the, oh, yeah, here we go. So he was fighting in welterweight. That fight's obviously not on here because he missed weight and it was canceled. Wonder Boy refused to fight him. Then he was forced, I think, essentially by the UFC, or he made the decision to move up to middleweight. Since getting into middleweight, look at this record, dude. First round finish. I mean, look at the comparison back here. He's got finish, all in the first round in about a minute max. He's basically dominating. Now, granted, the people that he's fighting, it may not be top tier level competition per se, but everybody I think is agreeing that he looks insane at middleweight. Now, he almost lost this fight because by disqualification. I mean, there was a chance, right? The judges were convening. He essentially had, it was like a knee to the head or a shin to the head of a downed opponent, which is crazy when he did the jumping backflip, but he looked vicious. I mean, he didn't even need to do that. He was going to win the fight. So, and he's an amazing fighter, exciting fighter, incredible fighter. Justin, what do you think? Like, how much do you know about Michel Pereira and where do you see him going in the middleweight division?
I mean, I know a little bit about him. He trains at Extreme Couture.
Oh, well, there we go. Oh, so he's your boy. Tell him I said what's up.
I wouldn't say he's not my boy. He's just we just train together, man. And
yeah,
at one point, believe it or not, Michelle and I were I was looking to fight him on a short notice fight like 6 years ago when he first broke into the UFC. But regardless, dude, the guy is awesome. He's a great training partner. You know, he doesn't do crazy stuff in the gym like he does in his fights. I think he saves that for his fights. But you know, when you go up in weight, you know, you get more water on the brain. You know, you have less hard cuts. You know, and that's probably where he's excelling right now, man. The guy's explosive. He's fast. He's precise. And above all, he's entertaining, man. And you know,
entertaining.
I don't care who he fights. I don't care if he's my teammate. If he's not my teammate, I don't care who he's fighting. He could be fighting another guy at Extreme Couture, and I'm going to tune into that fight regardless, just because of the entertainment factor.
Unbelievable. I mean, the entertainment factor and the skill level is obviously there. His striking is incredible. By the way, Western Mass Climber is explaining to a new follower, well, somebody's joined the live show, Stein Wins. He's asking who we are. He said Huzaifa left as a math MMA nerd. Love it. That's a great description. Justin James, the former UFC fighter. That's right. Justin has had 5 fights in the UFC. Look, this was the whole premise for the show. And thank you, Western Mass Climber, for explaining that. The whole premise of the show was to have me, who just like, I'm obsessed with the sport. I'm watching all the videos and the content all the time, watching all the fights because it's so much fun. I do train. I trained Muay Thai for about 5 years, but I'm no fighter. Maybe one day I can consider myself somewhat of a fighter with enough training. Justin is the professional. And so what's, I think, really fun and special about our show is you get the fan perspective, myself, and obviously we get the real commentary from a real fighter, and who not only a real fighter, but who's training at one of the greatest, probably the greatest gym of all time, Extreme Couture in Las Vegas, where you have the likes of Francis Ngannou. You have, Aljamain Sterling, so many champions that Sean Strickland, so many champions that train at Extreme Couture. Eric Nixick, obviously, coach to the stars, if you will. So this is the whole premise of the show. But anyways, Michel Pereira, I didn't even know that he trained at Extreme Couture. So this is going to be super exciting. And thank you, Stein Wiz. We hope you'll subscribe and join along as we grow. We're having such a fun time doing so. All right. And by the way, if you're new to learning about Justin James, also Google Justin James, the fighter who bet on himself. I think he got a lot of headlines for betting his entire show money on himself to win. And then he also got on SportsCenter for riding a whale. That's a true story. So just Google Justin James rides a whale on SportsCenter and you'll literally see him riding. I mean, I don't even know what to say. He could have died, but he did it anyways.
It was the open ocean too. It wasn't like a SeaWorld event. That was an open ocean. I was tuna fishing, man. That whale surfaced, I'd jump on that motherfucker.
Yeah, and like when you think back about that, are you like, I don't know what I should have never done that, or if you did it, if you had that chance again, you would do it again?
Do it again. I mean, it was one of the greatest, top 3 greatest moments of my life. It was believe it or not, it was very emotional afterwards, dude. It was crazy, man. Yeah, I mean, I probably was on that whale's back for 8 minutes. The video is about 8 minutes long. So yeah, we were cruising, man. He just was at the top of the water. And I was holding on to like his dorsal fin, and we just were chilling, man. We were pals for that 6 to 7 minutes.
That's crazy. So another thing that Justin said he wants to do is do bare knuckle boxing at least once. And it's kind of interesting because most UFC fighters, as brutal as the sport is, say they won't do bare knuckle boxing. Darren Till was offered $2 million to do a bare knuckle fight and won't do it. And the thing is, the reason why is because it's pretty brutal. You're going to break your hands almost certainly. You're going to get super cut up, and it's pretty hardcore. I was telling my MMA coach in Los Angeles, Pete, I was like, yeah, Justin wants to do a bare knuckle boxing match and at least one. And he's like, why? I was like, because when Justin moves on from this earth, he wants his gravestone to say, this guy did every crazy thing on the planet, I think, including he wants to climb Mount Everest. So that's who Justin James is as a fighter, if you guys want to know. Last, Western Mass Climber was asking, what species of whale did you ride?
It was a fin whale. F-I-N, fin.
F-I-N.
50 feet long.
This is so crazy. All right. Amazing. All right, let's move on.
Hey, I can send you the video if you want to post it on our page.
100%. Send it. I'll chop it up and we'll post it this weekend. All right. Last thing. We are talking old school mixed martial arts, old school UFC. So I remember we talked before and I was saying, hey, man, you know, I was a fan right from the beginning, kind of, because I was watching like old school UFC fights from the 90s, but in 2000 when I was in college. But then the sport changed. It got rounds, it got divisions, and I wasn't as in new modifications. I was like, all right, now they're making it too much of like a sport like boxing. I thought it was so cool that it was just no rules. Let's see who wins in a straight up street fight, right? So I had my period of time where I stepped away. But the guys who I used to watch on those old tapes were guys like Tank Abbott, right? Old school Hoist Gracie, all that stuff, right? Ken Shamrock. And bro, this guy, Tank Abbott, I mean, he's one of the most entertaining, amazing fighters to watch back in the day. If you haven't watched his stuff, check him out. He fought Kimbo Slice. He did lose to Kimbo, but that was when he was like near the tail end of his career. But Tank Abbott was terrifying. He's just such a G. So he recently appeared on the Jackson podcast. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's pretty dope. But anyways, he recently came on the Jackson podcast, and I just had to play this, and I want to get your reaction. You know Tito Ortiz, obviously, right?
Of course.
Okay. Do you know him personally, or you just know who he is?
No, I've never met him. I just know him through like you do.
Yeah. All right. So Tito Ortiz, former champion in the UFC. Tank Abbott knew him before the UFC. So this is the guy that Tank Abbott is. I didn't know his personality really. Like, he does not give an F about what he says or who he says, you know, whatever. He just speaks his mind, which you have to respect, of course. But here's Tank Abbott. Check this clip out. Him talking about Tito Ortiz.
This has got some things to it. And so they bring in this Tito, and I don't think it was the first time, because I never really like beat up on my training partners or anything. I was much bigger and stronger than them. And I wasn't turning it up at all. I was actually being kind of soft. And he started crying. I had him in a front head and arm. And he goes, "You're trying to break my neck. What are you doing?" Oh my God. Like bawling like a little baby.
I don't believe that.
That's an absolute
Come
truth.
on.
There's one thing that I'll take a lie detector test.
But Tito's an accomplished wrestler, right?
And he's tough, man.
He got a big neck and a big head. How do you put your arm around that big head?
It was a front. He shot on me, and I got in a front head and arm, and I was squeezing and choking him. And, you know, maybe after he went away with John Lober and started taking steroids that made his head grow so big, that he was the pussy that I know him to be. He still is a pussy.
Who?
Tito.
Which Tito?
Tito Ortiz is a pussy mentally.
Really?
Oh, don't believe he is a con man. If he was good, he'd be like that guy, the carpet cleaner dude, Barry Minko.
He was UFC champion, 205 UFC champion.
Why was he 205 champion? Well, they didn't even have weight classes. Dana made the weight class for him and pushed him.
Okay, I have to stop this. Dude, this is the in thing about all right. First of all, you guys have to check out this podcast. It is the Jackson podcast. Jackson Jewelry is who sponsors it. That's why it's called the Jackson podcast. But that is what's it called? The fighter that Rampage Jackson. Sorry, Rampage Jackson, old school like legend. And he's so good on this podcast. This podcast has blown up, dude. It's not that old, and they already passed 139,000 subscribers. Like it's blown up so fast. It's so good. You got to check it out. But they have legends like Tank Abbott on, and dude, but like anyways, and Rampage. All right, let's stop the screen share. Rampage is just laughing the entire time. The reason why this is so hilarious is because both the other host and Rampage are friends with Tito. They talk about that. So like, and Tank's not trying to be a dick. At least I don't. He's just speaking. This is just how he is. Apparently, he's just speaking his mind and going off and just be like, look. He even says at one point, I'm not talking trash. I'm not trying to talk trash. I'm just telling you how it is. Like, this is how Tito is. He's a snake. He's a this. He's a that. Like, anyways, it's just so funny. So for a flashback, for a lot of people who remember Tito and Tank Abbott and all these guys from back in the day, you got to check this out. We'll put a link in the description below. You got to hear it. But anyways, Justin, do you remember Tank Abbott? I know you said you remember.
Hell
Tito.
yeah, he's in. I think he's in like one of the longest MMA fights ever. You know, something Tank used to do that I hated, you know, is he was such a big guy. He could almost bear hug. He'd wrap his arms around you, but instead of locking his hands, he would grab the fence and hold you there for minutes and minutes. And when he was in the UFC, like there was no time limits. And I remember him being in like a 30-minute fight. I don't know if it was Ken Shamrock or it might have been Dan Severn or it might have been one of those guys, regardless, one of the legends. But man, this guy has power in his hands. You know, one of my favorite quotes from Tank Abbott is, "I fell off a bar stool into the cage." Like that's just a legend quote, and he just go up there and knock people out. So if you haven't seen, look up at Tank Abbott highlights, man. The guy's an absolute animal and is the true, you know. Even now, like, I mean, regardless of, I mean, I'm sorry, excluding his age, like if you'd brought the Tank Abbott from before and you put him in bare knuckle, he would have success.
Oh, he would be amazing in bare knuckle. I think he'd still be good. All right. So for people who haven't seen, you know what? You bring up a good point. I'm acting like everybody knows who Tank Abbott is. Here, let me show you guys some of his stuff. This is old school. Watch this. Here we go.
Lieutenant Casper Collins joining us once again. I want to together each other doing Tank.
All right, there's Tank back in the day. That's old school Tank. He'd even shaved the head and the beard got longer at one point. Okay, just look at. I mean, and it looks like there's no fear in his eyes. Okay, so old school. Here we go. Ready?
Tank Abbott and Matua.
Two
into the ground. Matua back up. Tank lands a right hand.
Look at him swing.
Vicious shots to the head.
That's it.
Down, and that is all.
I mean, look, and I think the guy who he's fighting here, I can't remember, but I mean, he's a martial arts expert. He's some, karate or whatever his discipline is. Just annihilation. And you can tell that part. Justin, actually, I want to know your thoughts on this, but like, it seems like one of Tank Abbott's biggest assets is he is just completely fearless. He just goes in and he's got that like almost that Mike Tyson look in his eyes when he fights. What do you see here?
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. That's why I think he's a legend. It didn't matter who he's fighting. I mean, at that time, he fought the best fighters in the world. And essentially, the UFC used to be a street fight. And you go out there and see him swing. You can tell his technique isn't very good. But, man, Tank Abbott to the BKFC. Oh, man, that would have been a dream come true for everybody.
That would have been amazing. All right, let's watch one more clip. Hold on.
My phone might die, and I don't have my charger until I get to the room. I'm at 1% right now, just to let you know. So if I cut off, my phone died, and I'll call you back after I get.
No worries. We're almost done here. This is the last one I got to show you guys. Okay, here we go. Check this out. One more.
Look out! Big people. Ooh. Tank quickly pushes Marlon into the fence. And he's looking for some of that grappling skill. Nice move by
can
Tank.
wrestle.
Big left hand by Tank Abbott. Another by Abbott. Abbott pounding Marlon's head. Tank Abbott trying to finish.
See how he's grabbing the fence? He's notorious for that.
I mean, just relentless, dude. And by the way, for those of you guys who don't know, again, this is before the rounds, right? You see that clock, but there's no round because it just goes until it goes. You could be fighting for 20, 30, 40 minutes. It just depends.
Tank is using that fence as a weapon. Oh my, a couple big shots to the head by Abbott. And that is it, John McCarthy.
And there he is, Big John McCarthy, old school ref, the classic ref, the most famous ref of all time. Here we go. Okay, well, that's it. Oops, I think we lost Justin. All right, that's what I want to show you guys. We had Justin out there to talk about a legend. All right, guys, we are good for today. Those are all the topics. I'm just looking at some of the comments that are coming in. Stein wins. Thank you so much. He's saying, oh, well, let's see this comment here. Says, good way to spread the streams, join other channels, Discord, and post when going live. Ooh, that's a great idea. We will have to do that. We are growing. We are a baby channel, but we're having so much fun. And thank you guys for all the support and everything. We will continue to do this. What is this? It's a male chat. Wait, what's happening here? Okay. No, Celine says she's the only woman here. All right. Well, anyways, we are so excited to see that the chat is going strong. It's lively, and we love all the commentary. And Western Mass Climber, Celine, you guys have been amazing throughout this entire journey. Thank you guys so much. If you guys could like the video, we'd appreciate it. And for those of you who are new, Stein wins, or anybody else, and if you want to give us a shot and subscribe, please do so. We're going to be making way more content, but at a minimum, we're doing our Mondays and Fridays, the podcast with Justin. Like I said, I just released a video yesterday on my own. We'll be doing more of that as well. I got a banger coming out, hopefully by next week, just doing some more research to finalize all the stats I'm going to present in the video. That's going to be a lot of fun. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining, and I will see you in the next video. Take it easy.